It all started on a regular Tuesday afternoon, the kind where nothing ever seems out of the ordinary, until everything suddenly is. I had just finished a long shift working undercover and was looking forward to picking up my 12-year-old daughter from school, something I rarely get to do. But when I arrived, she was nowhere to be found. Her teacher told me someone else had already picked her up, someone who wasn't me and wasn't authorized. My heart dropped. At first, I thought it had to be a mix-up. Maybe a family friend? A miscommunication? But then a security camera image from the school parking lot showed her walking off with a woman I instantly recognized, my neighbor. She's the head of our HOA, and let's just say she's always been a little intense. We call her Karen behind closed doors because she's always complaining about the smallest things. Grass-length trash bins, even kids playing too loudly. But this was something else entirely. Why would she take my daughter? And, more importantly, how did she even get past school security without a red flag? I wasn't just a father in that moment. I was an undercover cop whose training kicked in faster than my fear. I started digging. Neighbors had seen her acting strange. Lately, asking questions about my family, lurking near the school. I even found out she'd been spreading lies about my daughter being in danger at home. That's when I knew this wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. She believed she was doing something heroic. But nothing prepared me for what I discovered when I finally tracked them down. And what she said to me when I confronted her, that changed everything. She was sitting in the community park, calm as ever, like nothing was wrong. My daughter was next to her on the bench, clearly confused, but unharmed. I stayed back for a moment, watching, trying to piece together what was going through this woman's mind. My daughter saw me first and jumped up, but the woman, Karen, just smiled at me like she was expecting me. "I knew you'd come," she said, like this was part of some plan. I had to do it, for her safety. I kept my cool, but inside, I was boiling. I asked her what she meant, what made her think she had any right to take my daughter from school. And that's when she pulled out a thick folder from her bag. Pages. Full of notes, photos, printed emails, all about me. She'd been tracking my every move. She said she knew I was hiding something, that no father working odd hours and keeping a low profile could be trusted. That's when it hit me. She didn't know I was undercover. To her, I looked like a shady guy with something to hide. She claimed she'd seen signs of neglect, none of which made any sense. Things like my daughter walking home alone once, or me being gone for a few nights at a time. Normal stuff, for someone in my line of work. But to her, it was proof of something darker. The scary part? She had been contacting other neighbors, spinning this story, planting doubt. Some of them even started to believe her. She had convinced herself she was saving my daughter from some imagined danger. And no one questioned her because she wore that fake sense of authority that HOA board members sometimes carry. But she had no idea who she was really dealing with. And the more I listened, the more I realized. This wasn't over. Not even close. Kept my voice steady, even though every instinct in me wanted to snap. I told my daughter to wait by the car, trying to shield her from the rest of the conversation. Karen kept going like she was doing me a favor, like she honestly believed I'd thank her someday. "I know you're not who you say you are," she said, flipping through her little stack of evidence. "I've seen you meeting strange men at odd hours. You leave your house in the middle of the night. You never talk to anyone. That's not normal." She was describing my undercover work, surveillance, stakeouts, confidential meetings. But to her, it was all some twisted criminal pattern. She wasn't trying to be malicious. That almost made it worse. She truly believed she was protecting my daughter. Meanwhile, I started to realize this went deeper than just her paranoia. She had been documenting other families in the neighborhood, too. Notes about who came and went from which houses, when kids were home alone, even packages delivered. It wasn't just me. She was obsessed. A neighbor, Dan, later told me she'd approached him weeks earlier, asking if he ever noticed anything strange about me. He brushed it off at the time, but now he looked shaken. "She's been keeping tabs on half the block," he said. "I thought she was just nosy. I didn't think she'd actually do something." My daughter, even though she was safe, wasn't the same after that day. She kept asking why the lady thought we were in danger, and if there was something I wasn't telling her. How do you explain to a 12-year-old that someone's made-up story nearly tore your life apart? The worst part? Karen wasn't backing down. She was talking about going to Child Protective Services next. She thought this was just the beginning, and I had a gut feeling. She wasn't working alone. Over the next few days, things went from bad to worse. Karen had made copies of everything: photos, notes, even snippets of phone conversations she somehow recorded. She was handing them out to neighbors like flyers, warning them about me. She called it a community safety effort. People started looking at me differently. Some crossed the street when they saw me coming. Others just avoided eye contact. I'd lived in that neighborhood for 5 years, but suddenly I felt like a stranger on my own street. I tried to lay low, hoping it would die down. But Karen didn't stop. She filed a formal complaint with CPS. I knew it wouldn't hold up under real investigation, but just the fact that she did it was enough to throw everything into chaos. My daughter was scared, asking if they were going to take her away. My wife, who works long shifts as a nurse, was furious, confused, and exhausted from all the questions. Then something really strange happened. I caught a man sitting in a parked car just down the block, camera pointed straight at my front door. When I approached him, he took off without a word. That's when I knew this wasn't just Karen anymore. She had someone helping her. Or maybe she'd hired someone. I reached out to a buddy of mine in the department to quietly check if there had been other reports or similar cases tied to her. What he found was chilling. Karen had been involved in 3 other neighborhood complaints in the past, all of them targeting families she thought were hiding something. None of the cases stuck, but one family actually moved away because of her harassment. The pressure kept building. CPS showed up at my door. HOA board members started talking about reviewing my residency. My daughter began refusing to go to school, afraid Karen might come back. Then one night, just past midnight, I caught movement outside. Someone creeping along my side fence with a flashlight. I grabbed my badge, my phone, and my gun. This was no longer just about harassment. This was personal, and I was done waiting. I moved quickly and silently, slipping out the back door while calling it in to a trusted contact at the precinct. The figure by the fence was tall, definitely not Karen. This wasn't one of her overbearing neighborhood patrols. This was someone else. I kept to the shadows, circling around until I was right behind him. "Police. Don't move," I said, badge out, weapon low but ready. He froze. I stepped closer, and under the flashlight's glow, I saw his face. I didn't recognize him, but something felt familiar. He looked startled, caught completely off guard. He claimed he was just looking for his dog. But his hands were shaking, and his story didn't line up. He had no leash, no flashlight of his own, just a phone with my house pulled up on a Maps app and a camera tucked in his hoodie pocket. After a little pressure, he admitted he was hired by someone, paid in cash, told to keep an eye on the man at 704 and report anything suspicious, but he wouldn't say who hired him, not directly. That's when the second twist hit me. He let it slip that he didn't even live nearby. He'd been getting updates from someone on a private group chat. I got a screenshot before letting him go, just enough to trace back later. When I dug into it, my stomach dropped. It wasn't just Karen. She'd started a private online group, made up of neighborhood residents and a few outsiders, dedicated to protecting the community. They called themselves the Safe Street Watch. But this was no neighborhood watch. It was a digital mob, fed by suspicion and false narratives. Karen had positioned herself as their leader, feeding them edited videos, manipulated recordings, and cherry-picked moments to paint me as a threat. And now, some of them had taken it upon themselves to start following me, watching my daughter, tracking our movements. This wasn't just paranoia anymore. It was organized. And they believed they were on some kind of mission, one that wasn't going to stop unless I stopped it myself. The next morning, I knew I had to bring this to a head. Quiet investigations weren't cutting it anymore. My daughter was scared, my wife was exhausted, and I couldn't risk letting this go another day. I gathered everything, screenshots from the chat, the photos Karen had taken, the footage of the man at my fence, and took it straight to my department. By afternoon, a plan was in motion. We coordinated with a few trusted officers, ones who understood the delicate nature of undercover work. Karen had no idea the group she created, the so-called Safe Street Watch, was about to be exposed. That night we set it up, a public HOA. Meeting at the community center, Karen had planned to present new findings about me in front of everyone. She walked in confident, binder in hand, smug as ever. But this time, we were ready. As she started speaking, I stepped forward in uniform. Her expression froze. Behind me, 2 officers entered the room, and the lights dimmed as we projected the evidence onto the wall. Screenshots from the private group, fake surveillance footage she had edited, messages calling for people to keep pressure on my family. The room went silent. Neighbors stared in disbelief. People who had once nodded along with her were now backing away. And then came the final twist. One of the messages in her group wasn't from her. It was from another member, someone close to the HOA board. Someone who had helped her push the complaint to CPS. Someone I had trusted. It was the HOA vice president, a man who had once brought cookies to our housewarming. He'd been quietly helping her build this narrative, hoping to push me out and take control of the board. Both were taken in for questioning. The group was shut down. CPS cleared us completely, and my family finally got to breathe again. But just when I thought it was over, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address. Just a photo of me and my daughter, taken 2 days before, walking home from the store. Whoever had taken it wasn't done watching. That photo was the final push I needed. I handed it over to the department right away, and we launched a quiet but thorough investigation into any remaining members of the group. Turns out, most of them had already backed away after seeing how far Karen had taken things. Only a couple of people were still clinging to the conspiracy, and even they didn't pose a real threat once they realized law enforcement was fully involved. In the weeks that followed, things slowly returned to normal. My daughter went back to school with a new sense of confidence, knowing her family had stood strong through it all. My wife and I took turns walking her to and from school, not out of fear, but out of care, and to rebuild that feeling of safety. Karen and the HOA vice president were both formally charged with harassment and misuse of community authority. The HOA restructured entirely, and several neighbors actually came forward to apologize, admitting they had followed the rumors without asking questions. It was awkward, sure, but it showed me that people can learn. As for me, I stayed on the force, but I took a break from undercover work. The cost of secrecy had hit too close to home. I've always believed in protecting others, but this experience reminded me that sometimes the danger doesn't come from strangers. It comes from people hiding behind rules, pretending to care, while spreading fear. If there's one thing I hope people take from this, it's that not everything is what it seems. And no matter how quiet someone lives, they might be fighting battles you can't see. My daughter's safe. My family's stronger. And Karen? She messed with the wrong dad. Because I may look like just another neighbor, but I'll always protect what matters most.